Hi, this is Gary with MACMOST.com. Let's take a look at using back tap on the iPhone. So back tap is a way to trigger an action on your iPhone simply by tapping on the back. You can tap twice like that or 3 times to trigger an action. If you have an older iPhone without an action button, this is a great way to trigger something simply and physically without even having to look at your screen. And even if you have an action button, this adds 2 more ways to trigger things. The way to set up back tap is to go into settings, and then this is under accessibility. Then go down to the physical and motor section and go to touch. Scroll down and look for back tap. You'll find it near the bottom. Go into it here. And then you'll find 2 settings, one for a double tap and one for a triple tap. You'll also find a switch for whether or not a banner is shown. This is useful, especially when you're getting used to using back taps, because you can see when one is triggered. So if you're trying to set something up and you're not sure whether it's not triggering because you're not back tapping correctly, or there's something wrong with your settings, then at least you know that it's recognizing the back tap. So to set one of these up, you just tap on the one you want. I'll do double tap here. And then you could choose from several different kinds of actions. Let's first start with a very simple one here near the top. We can use flashlight. Simply selecting flashlight means it will toggle flashlight on or off. A lot of times when we need to turn the flashlight on our iPhone on, we may not necessarily be looking at the screen, and we just want a way to do it physically. So now that I've set it to flashlight, if I just double tap like that, you could see it turns on the flashlight. And with it on, another double tap will turn it off. And you could see on the screen there indicated that it received the double tap. So that's pretty much the simplest one you can do. But let's look at some of the other options here under System and Accessibility. One of the things that I like to use a lot is the magnifier. And it's under accessibility here, and you could select it, and this will turn on your iPhone's camera and let you see through it, magnifying what's there, letting you adjust the brightness and things like that. You can use it for reading menus with small print in dark restaurants, for instance, or reading like serial numbers on the back of devices, things like that. You can also quickly take pictures and examine things. It's a really useful utility that I use all the time. So I'm going to double tap now, and you'll see it turns on the magnifier, and there it's magnifying my keyboard. So that's another really useful one. And remember, you have the ability here to do 2. So you've got the double tap and the triple tap. So you could have one assigned to, say, the flashlight, the other to the magnifier. If you find these videos valuable, consider joining the more than 2,000 others that support MACMOST through Patreon. You get exclusive content, course discounts, and more. You can read about it at macmost.com/Patreon. Now, one complaint I hear a lot from people is they have trouble reproducing a certain gesture on the iPhone. It seems different for different people. Some people have trouble bringing up Control Center from swiping down from the top right corner. Other people have trouble with other gestures. So you can replace a lot of gestures here very easily. For instance, you could use it as a home button. So right now, a double tap will act like swiping up from the bottom. There's Control Center that I mentioned before. So instead of swiping down from the top right like that to bring up Control Center, you can use a double tap to do that. You can also have it bring up the app switcher. That's another useful one. And also shake, which is usually used to undo. Now, another option here, listed separately from everything else, is scroll gestures. So you can scroll down or scroll up. I'm going to scroll down and use a back tap to basically read a web page. So for instance, here in Safari, I could have a long web page, and instead of scrolling, I could just double tap on the back, and you can see how it scrolls up a bit, approximately 1 page, and I can continue reading like that. Now, I can also use the scroll down gesture in lots of different social media apps, particularly the short form video ones, like TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. When you're viewing YouTube Shorts or Instagram Reels, you can, instead of scrolling up to go to the next video, you can use this gesture now to actually go to the next video, because it's basically simulating you scrolling with your finger on the screen, just like those apps expect. there's so much more you can use it for. For instance, you could go back here in accessibility and go to the vision part and then go to display and text size and go down to color filters. So you could turn on color filters here and you get to have a color filter applied, like the right color filter here. You won't see it on the screenshot there, but you could adjust this. You can make it grayscale, for instance. You can do a red-green filter or this color tint. I've done a color tint, made it red. And then the cool thing is I could turn off the color filters now, and then I could set the back tap to turn them on by simply going back in here to touch, going to back tap, and then setting the double tap here to the accessibility color filters. So now with the back tap, I could go into this mode like this. So it would be really useful, for instance, at night, you bring up your phone and you could just do the back tap and get the nice red screen there so it doesn't bother your eyes as much. And then another double back tap will turn it off. So the rest of the ideas I'm going to show you are for using shortcuts with back tap. Shortcuts open up even more functions that you can control. So let's go into the Shortcuts app here. And let's say we want to do something really simple, like you just want to open an app. So I'm going to use the plus button there at the top right, and I'm going to search for open. You can already see it was there before. So I can choose open and then which app I want to open. So let's do something really simple like the calculator. But as you can see, you could choose any app that you want. So I can now rename this like that. And then I've got this shortcut that will work here in Shortcuts, and I can trigger it a variety of different ways. But I could also now assign it here as the double tap action. I just scroll down to Shortcuts here, and then I need to find it in the alphabetical list. I've got a lot here, but I can choose Open Calculator. So now when I double tap on the back, it will launch the Calculator app. So a quick way to get to an app that you may otherwise fumble around to try to get to when you need it. But let's look at some of the other ones I have set up here. Here's one called Screenshot to File. And all it's going to do is use the Take Screenshot action. And then it's going to use the Save File action to save the result of the previous action, the screenshot, to a folder named Screenshots. I've selected that folder. It allows you to select any folder in the Files app. And it only allows you to select that once you've turned off Ask Where to Save. And it asks you to choose a subpath. And all I've done here is I asked it to use the current date like that. And then I set it to date and time with the formats down here below. So it's going to give it a file name that has the current date and time. Now, if I go in and assign this as the back tap action here, there's Screenshot to File right there. Now you can see when I use the back tap, it will activate, take the screenshot. And now if I go into Files, there I am in that Screenshots folder, and that's the screenshot it took. So it allowed me to skip all of the stuff where it shows you a screen and all of that. It's not going to save it to the Photos app. It's just going to save it really quickly to the Files app. And if you need to do more of the screenshot, you can continue and add more actions to this shortcut. Here's a similar one that allows you to quickly record a voice memo. So with this one, it creates a new recording, and I left the name blank. So we're just going to use the default naming in the Voice Memos app. And in addition to starting the recording, I'm going to open up the Voice Memos app. Since I'm recording and I probably want to use the stop button there or maybe pause button after I start recording. But the idea here is I can trigger the recording very quickly and easily. I'll switch the double tap here to record a voice memo now. And now I could just be on the home screen or using another app. I can double tap and it will start the recording pretty quickly and take me into the Voice Memos app. Here's a variation on that. This is called the emergency message and record. So you can send messages using a shortcut. In this case, I'm sending an emergency message to a specific person, and you can have it be more than one person as well. Then I'm using the Get Current Location action and sending another message to that same person, and it's just the current location. It's going to put the address, the closest address to that. And then it's going to do the same thing here with creating the recording. So it's going to start voice memos and then lock the screen. So it's going to do all of that when I trigger the back tap. And here's another useful one, especially if you're out and about and you're looking at different things in stores, or maybe you're at the library looking at different materials and things like that. You can set it to take a photo using the back camera. And then in this case, I have it show camera preview, but you can turn this off and it'll just take the picture blindly. And it's going to save the photo to a folder in the Files app. So it's not going to add it to my photos library or a note or something like that. But then it's also going to use extract text and extract text from that saved file. So whatever it sees in there, and then it's going to add that to a note. And you could do so much more here too. You can also have it append the date and time to the note as well, and even the image itself. But you could see how this works if I add this here. Then I simply back tap here. It's going to open up the camera so I can do basically a quick photo like that. And I'll say use photo. And then if I look here in the Files app, I'll find that photo that I took. And if I look in the Notes app here, I'll see the text that it found inside of that. So you can vary that shortcut to do all sorts of useful things in exactly the way that you want. So what if you want more than the 1 or 2 options you've got with a double or triple back tap? You could actually have that trigger something where it either allows you to select a shortcut or selects a shortcut automatically based on something else. Here in my Shortcuts app library, I've got this back tap shortcuts folder here, and it has all of these back tap shortcuts in it. I can create another shortcut. I've created one right here called Choose Shortcut. It's going to use the Get Shortcuts From action, and then I've selected that folder, back tap shortcuts. So it's going to get a list of all of those. Then Choose From List will allow it to show you the list of shortcuts, and you choose one, and then Run Shortcut from the output from that allows you to select one. So now in Settings here for double tap, I can go to Choose Shortcut here. So now when I double tap on the back, it'll come up with the list, that menu, and then I can choose the one I want. So one more additional tap on the screen, but it allows me to choose from a huge list of shortcuts if I like. There are variations on this you can do as well. For instance, here is one that's going to use some if statements in the Shortcuts app and check the time and see if it's before 9 a.m. If it is, it's going to run this shortcut called Quick Weather. And then another if statement says if it's between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m., then it's going to change the volume. And there are a lot of different ways to have it decide which one to run. For instance, here's a shortcut that gets the orientation. Get orientation is just an action. And then it checks the orientation. And for instance, if it's a landscape left, it's going to add 5 minutes to the current timer. And you could change landscape left to, portrait or face up, face down, all sorts of things. So you can have your back tap do something different depending upon how you're holding your iPhone. Instead of getting orientation, you can look for, say, the current focus mode and go with whether the focus mode is sleep or do not disturb or none of those, and actually trigger a different action depending on that focus mode. So there's a ton of different stuff you can do to get even more out of back tap. Hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching. Want to know about every new MACMOST video each week? Sign up for the absolutely free MACMOST email newsletter at macmost.com/newsletter.